Let me begin by expressing how excited I am and how highly honored I am to deliver a speech at this prestigious meeting. I wish to thank the organizers of the program, and best of all, for inviting me to deliver the keynote address. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first town hall meeting outside Ghana, and I'm sure the United Kingdom, and indeed London, is happy to be accorded a place of pace-setters in this regard. I'm informed that the Ministry of Information, in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and a few departments and agencies, have been holding town hall meetings since 2017. In 2019, the strategy has been upscaled. The ministry will use the power of electronic media, live broadcast show, Facebook Live, Twitter, WhatsApp application to project and broadcast the town hall meetings far and wide. In this regard, the Ministry of Information will organize 21 town hall meetings locally and 3 in the diaspora. The first in the diaspora is what we are privileged to be participating in here at the 9th High Road, Wood Green, London, United Kingdom. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the 2019 State of the Nations address delivered by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, one of his key points was on his vision to opening up Ghana to ensure equitable development in every nook and cranny of the country. This is a constitutional imperative which has been neglected largely by successive administrations. Indeed, Article 36(2)(d) of our Constitution provides, and I wish to quote, "The state shall, in particular, take all the necessary steps to establish a healthy and sound economy whose underlying principles shall include undertaking even and balanced development of all the regions and every part of each region of Ghana, and in particular improving the conditions of life in the rural areas and generally redressing any imbalance in development between the rural and urban areas," unquote. In this regard, additional regions have been created, and as well, 3 development authorities have been established. The new regions, as you might be aware, and their capital towns include the following: Oti region, the capital of which is Dambai; Western North, the capital of which is Sechirioso; Northeast, Nalerigu; Ahafo region, Goso; Savannah, Damongo; and Bono East, Techiman. In view of this, the government has realigned the national budget to ensure that every constituency gets the CD equivalent of $1 million a year for priority projects. It is of importance to note that the newly created regions will present an opportunity for us to avoid the long-standing mistakes of urban planning that have made some towns and cities in the country very unattractive. As you may be aware, the government of Ghana has promised to devolve greater power to the Ghanaian people by assembling a multidisciplinary panel of experts to plan costs, schedule, and help implement a roadmap for the election of metropolitan, municipal, district chief executives. We have also embarked on additional facets of our ambitious decentralization program, that is the exercise to expand full democracy to local government, in addition to the creation of 38 municipal and district assemblies and the elevation of 29 districts to the status of municipalities. The bill for the amendment of Article 55(3) of the Constitution has been gazetted to pave way for the direct popular election on partisan basis of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. It is expected that a referendum will be held on the bill alongside the unit committees and district level elections in 2019. In line with the district assembly system, the government, in its vision to provide inclusiveness, has committed to increase the share of district assemblies common funds to persons with disabilities by 50%, that is from 2% of the common fund to 3%. We have also ensured the implementation of our pledge to employing 50% of persons who manage the country's toll booths from amongst persons with disabilities. This effort is commendable because the vision of leaving no one behind is being realized and maintained. Assessing the state of the Ghanaian economy, we are elated to say that the program with the IMF has come to an end, and with continuing discipline, the deal has been signed off only last Tuesday, the 2nd of April 2019. Furthermore, production in the economy, as measured by real GDP growth, has picked up very strongly in the past 2 years. From 3.4% in 2016, that was the worst GDP growth in more than 22 years, real GDP growth increased to 8.1 in 2017. It is important to state that the 2017 GDP growth rate registered 8.6% growth. When the economy was rebased, it reduced to 8.1. The 3.4 GDP growth rebased, that is the 2016 GDP growth rate of 3.4, rebased takes it further down to about 2.3%, which makes it the worst GDP growth rate in 30 years. In 2018, provisional data for the first 3 quarters indicate a strong real GDP growth of 6%, higher than the annual target of 5.6%. Real GDP growth rate for 2019 is forecast at 7.6. Ghana's recent GDP growth has positioned it amongst the highest in the world. Indeed, the 2017 8.1 GDP growth rate made it the second fastest growing economy in the world for that year. Inflation has dropped to 15.4% at the end of 2016 to 9% in January this year, the lowest in 6 years. The debt to GDP ratio is declining, and there is manifest reduction in fiscal deficit. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to announce that interest rates are declining, and so is the Bank of Ghana monetary policy rate. Our trade balance account, for the first time in more than a decade, recorded a surplus in 2017 and is expected to remain in surplus in 2019. Consumer and business interests are soaring to signify growing confidence in the economy. This is evidence-based. Within the economic sector, agriculture, industry, and services all grew phenomenally. Agriculture, which grew by 2.9% in 2016, shot up to 6.1% in 2017, that is over 100% growth rate. Crops grew from 2.2% in 2016 to 7.2%, and that is over 227% growth. Cocoa grew from negative 7.0% in 2016 to positive 9.2%. Livestock grew from 5.4% in 2016 to 5.7%, and forestry from 2.9% in 2016 to 3.4%. Industry grew from negative 23.3% in 2014 amidst the doomsday years to, of course, we are still in negative, but negative 1.4% in 2017. While services grew from 2.8% in 2016 to 3.3% in 2017. Mr. Chairman, in both 2014 and 2015, in the then 10 ECOWAS convergence criteria, Ghana could not attain even one of the criteria, when countries like Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia attained at least 2 of the 10 criteria. We scored 0%. In 2016, the criteria got composited and rationalized such that we now have 6 convergence criteria. In 2016, we attained 1 out of the 6 criteria. In 2017, Ghana attained 4 out of the 6 criteria, and that represented 66.6% and represented the best performance of the country in the ECOWAS convergence criteria over the last 18 years. Things indeed are getting better, for the Lord is good and has shown his kindness to Ghana. In May 2018, a US 2 billion euro bond was issued for 30 and 10 years of 1 billion each, with coupon rates of 8.627% and 7.625% respectively. And these were the lowest rate and the longest maturity in our history, signifying confidence in the economy. It comes as no surprise, therefore, that today Ghana is the leading recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. Considering these good figures, we are more than confident that there is an expectation of impressive figures and good performance to continue into the foreseeable future. Chairman, let me say a few things about education. Now, the preamble of the 1992 Republican Constitution begins and joins the people of Ghana to, and I quote, secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, equality of opportunity, and prosperity, unquote. The principal vehicle to ensuring the blessings of liberty, equality of opportunity, and prosperity for ourselves and future generations is education. And that is why President Akufo-Addo is keen on inclusiveness in education to all citizens. The government's flagship education policy, Free Senior High School, seeks to ensure that every Ghanaian attains quality education and lifelong learning opportunities. In this regard, the President stated in his State of the Nation's address that legislation will be passed very soon to redefine basic education to include senior high school. Basic education is, by Article 25(1)(a) of the Constitution, free, compulsory, and universal. That is available to all. And if the President says that beyond making secondary or senior high education free, he's going to redefine basic education to include senior high education, then it means that beyond the freeness, secondary education is going to be universal and compulsory to every Ghanaian child. Parents from now on and guardians will not have any excuse not to send their children to secondary school. Indeed, in the 2018-2019 academic year, we had an additional 186,000 new entrants into secondary schools. Imagine what could have happened to such huge numbers of our children if they had not been availed of this opportunity to go to senior secondary school free of charge. Other educational programs such as the technical and vocational education training have also been implemented. Indeed, all is now set for the construction of 10 state-of-the-art technical and vocational education training TVET centers this year. For far too long, we have preached about the importance of TVET without doing much to demonstrate its importance. The new TVET centers will be world-class and attractive to assure young people that they are not being sent to second-best options. The nation can only leap into the future if we emphasized science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM education. That is what we have set out to do. Additionally, a new standards-based curriculum will be rolled out from kindergarten to class 6 in primary schools in September 2019. This curriculum has drawn upon the best practices from all over the world and will be geared towards making Ghanaian child confident, innovative, creative thinking, digitally literate, well-rounded, patriotic citizens. It is noteworthy that mathematics, science, reading, writing, and creativity are at the heart of this new curriculum. There is no argument, ladies and gentlemen, that a well-motivated and well-remunerated teacher is at the center of our quality education and comprehensive teacher policy. This has started with the upgrading of the initial teacher education certificate to degree status, and the move to put up the teaching profession up there with other professions in terms of respect and exclusivity. Pursuant to strengthening Ghana's health delivery systems, the government has thought it right to provide ambulances as one of the means to good health delivery systems. 275 ambulances are expected to arrive in June this year. Every constituency will receive an ambulance to make treatment of emergency cases much more effective. Again, government has granted financial clearance for the recruitment of 11,118 health personnel to increase existing clinical staff. To augment the efforts of clinical staff, in September 2018, the Ministry of Health received further financial clearance to employ 14,524 nurse attendants. These nurse assistants belong to the tranche that passed their exams in 2016 from government health training institutions and who have remained at home all this while. They have commenced work since 1st February 2019. Moreover, the Ministry of Health is working to obtain financial clearance for the recruitment of the 2017 and 2018 graduates. Drone technology, you might have heard, has also been introduced into the system to help deliver essential medicine, blood, and blood products to remote communities. The housing challenges facing the nation is no secret to those of you who travel to Ghana at regular intervals. The problem is especially in the urban areas, largely due to the incessant increasing population of Ghana and rural-urban population drift. This is an enduring problem that gets worse with each passing day. It is time to address this problem and find a resolution. The government has therefore started with the completion of the many abandoned projects dotted around the country. In the 2019 State of the Nation address, the President stated that a conglomerate of local banks has raised 51 million, the equivalent of 51 million US dollars, to fund the completion of the social housing units started by President Akufo in 2006 at Akufo-Addo, Tamale, and Ho. Mr. Chairman, the Parliament of Ghana has passed the Integrated Aluminium Authority Bill, which has since been assented to by the President. That industry has the potential of delivering over 70 billion United States dollars to the Ghanaian economy. The construction of the Akosombo Dam was premised on the establishment of the Volta Aluminium Company, VALCO, to produce aluminium for both local and international markets. VALCO was to buy electric power generated by the dam at a concessionary rate for the purpose. The vision of the first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, for the country towards an integrated aluminium industry got jeopardized along the line. VALCO, for purely business considerations, imported alumina for its production to maximize profits. To VALCO, it made much more business sense to lift alumina into Ghana for further processing instead of refining raw bauxite mined in Ghana. Thankfully, notwithstanding the close to 80 years exploitation of bauxite, the country still has over 600 million metric tons of bauxite deposits at Yinahin and Kibi in the main, which is a national resource for the country and not for the brother of a president, current or former. The integrated aluminium industry will surely reposition Ghana. The deposits of iron ore at Sheni in the north of the country, near Yendi, Pudo in the upper west, and upon Mansi in the western region provide another huge potential. Sheni has over 1.3 billion metric tons of iron ore. Upon Mansi has over 350 million metric tons, and Pudo has over 50 million metric tons. Altogether, the yield is in excess of over 1.8 billion metric tons. Parliament has just yesterday passed the bill on the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation Bill. The joy from the reappraisal of the deposits is that if we are to apply the quantum of steel to be yielded on the construction of a single rail track, it could go around the earth not less than 40 times. That should be a game changer for the national economy, especially the northern section. Then there are also new discoveries of oil, which will propel production of oil to about 500,000 barrels of crude per day in the next 3 to 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, God must be a Ghanaian. Employment. In 2017, when the president addressed the nation through us in Parliament, he asked the rhetorical question, and I'm quoting him: if I were to ask each one of you in this chamber to tell me what the number one problem was in your constituency, I suspect there will be a uniform answer: jobs. That was what the president said to us. To address the challenges of unemployment, the administration has created the Nation Builders Corps, which has employed over 100,000 young persons in 2018. The Digital Marketing Entrepreneurship Program recruited over 3,000 young unemployed people. The development authorities, as I've indicated to you, the 3 development authorities have been created and are coming up in full throttle to generate thousands of jobs in 2019, plus the newly created districts and regions. My municipal assembly has employed, my newly created municipal assembly, the Swami Municipal Assembly, has employed 95 persons. Now replicate this in the 58 districts that have been created. The Youth Employment Agency in 2018 engaged about 107,000 youth in various employment modules, and in 2019, an additional 125,000 is to be recruited. Add to the number the recruitment of trained teachers, nurses, nurses assistants, policemen, soldiers, fire service, immigration officers, the forest brigades. Within 3 years, the number of employment generated is over 450,000. And salaries are being increased, 11% in 2018 and 10% at the beginning of this year, to motivate these people who have been employed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that sports has become one of the means in delivering a wide variety of benefits to communities and individuals, including, in particular, propelling economic growth. We can all agree that sports has helped to provide employment opportunities, and contribute towards raising aspirations and increasing skill levels. Interestingly, Ghana won last year the bid to host the 13th All-Africa Games, and this great honor presents our nation with the opportunity to upgrade our sporting infrastructure and position our nation as a preferred destination for the development of sporting disciplines on the continent. Renovation and upgrading of our sporting infrastructure, such as the Accra and Cape Coast Stadia, the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex in Kaneshie, and have all begun, and a complete refurbishment of sports facilities across the country also began in earnest. Moreover, funds have also been released for the completion of the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, started by the Akufo-led MPP government, but abandoned soon after 2009. The Ghanaian people are also expectant of a return to normalcy of all football-related activities as soon as possible, and the Normalization Committee is working to ensure that they meet the April deadline. Most of you who follow news coming from Ghana regularly can tell of the challenges in the local textile industry. Despite the struggling nature of local textile industry, the government has decided to give it a major boost by granting a zero-rated VAT on the supply of locally made textiles for a period of 3 years. A stamp duty regime has also been put in place for both locally manufactured and imported textiles to address the challenge of pirated designs and logos in the textile trade. Besides, the Tema port has been designated as a single entry corridor for the importation of textile prints, with a textile task force in place to ensure effective compliance and reduce, if not eliminate, smuggling of imported textiles. A new textiles and ports management system has been instituted also to control the imports of textiles. Mr. Chairman, to ease transportation challenges in the country, the government has sought to refurbish railway lines across the country. For instance, the Accra to Tema rail service has started running on a refurbished line. The rehabilitation of the narrow gauge line will also continue from Nsawam to Koforidua, and work is continuing on the rehabilitation of the Kojokrom to Takwa section of the Western Line, whilst work on the standard gauge section from Kojokrom to Mansell is also ongoing. Additionally, the government is committing an extra $1 billion United States dollars to the development of the new rail network. $500 million will be applied to the development of the Western Line, and $500 million will also be applied to the first phase of the Kumasi to Paga section of the national network. In a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, the railways are coming in a big way into Ghana, and we shall open up our country for the development that we all desire. It is important to acknowledge recent events that have deepened Ghana's democracy and good governance. Most of you do know that for 17 long years, Dagbon encountered a civil conflict. Efforts in that conflict led to the unfortunate death of the Yana Yakubu Andani in very unfortunate circumstances. For this reason, Dagbon encountered conflict, and efforts have been made previously to restore peace in Dagbon. Today, as you all do know, peace has been restored, and a new Yana Abukari Mahama has been installed. The roadmap to restoring peace in Dagbon was quite tortuous, but thanks to the Patriotic Committee of Eminent Chiefs, and thanks as well to the insistence of the President, a solution to this problem was developed. Still on chieftaincy, ladies and gentlemen, the government is working hard to find solutions to other enduring chieftaincy disputes in many areas of the country facing this menace. We can agree that chieftaincy institution is our culture personified, and a collective effort must be made to support and maintain it at all costs. This promotes peace and security within our localities, and the nation as a whole. Above all, is closely aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 17 that stresses on the importance of partnership for the achievement of all the goals. It underscores strengthening the means of implementation and revitalization of the global partnership for sustainable development. These include partnership built on principles and values, a shared goal that places people and the planet at the center for development at the global, regional, national, and local levels. Mr. Chairman, the Vice President, addressing the first town hall meeting just last Wednesday, spoke to the need to bring down import duties in the country. The reality as related to is that in the entirety of the sub-region as the ECOWAS region, duties that are paid at Ghanaian ports, apart from the Nigerian ports of Tinkan Island and Apapa, are the highest in the sub-region. And it cannot be justified. Indeed, as the Vice President alluded to, over the past 5 years, harbor activities in Ghana have increased by a mere 4%, whereas over the same period, harbor activities in Lomé have increased by 300%. That should suggest to us in Ghana that we are not doing everything right in our country. And that's the reason why the Vice President, as the leader of the economic management team, announced to Ghanaians, and I believe that should bring joy to Ghanaians in the diaspora, that we have reduced import duties by a significant percentage. The representative of the Chief Executive of the Ghana Revenue Authority is here. I do not want to take the wind out of his sail. He will come and relate to the implementation of that policy. Now, in mobilizing the people for sustainable development, government has a duty to communicate its programs and policies in a way that will engender participation and inclusion, which are hallmarks of good governance. And this cannot be done effectively and efficiently without the buy-in from our traditional rulers and indeed from all our citizens of goodwill. And that is why we are here, to let you know where your country Ghana, your beloved country Ghana, stands today. And also to hear from you what we can do better for our citizens today, as well as for generations yet unborn. As you have said, and we admit, we recognize the fact that this government is not the repository of wisdom. That is why it's important to engage ourselves at such town hall meetings such as this. And I believe we shall leave here richer than we have come here. I thank you all for granting me audience. May good Lord continue to bless Ghana and make her great and strong. Thank you once again.